Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back on day 5 of the 12 Days of Christmas. Today is an out-of-the-box day for me during the 12 Days of Christmas, because I will be reviewing an oddball of sorts. My day 5 pick is not necessarily a horror film, but it is definitely dark. I watched Here Comes Santa Claus. Now, first off, ignore the name Gomez across the top there, because I had gotten this tape from a flea market, and apparently Gomez Adams owned this before I did. It adds character to the cover, so I thought I'd leave it alone. Here Comes Santa Claus is a 1984 French film, but it is dubbed in English, so for those of you who do not like subtitles, you don't have to worry about that. I won't even attempt to announce the original French title of the film, but this one is also known as I Believe in Santa Claus. In fact, Here Comes Santa Claus was released under the title I Believe in Santa Claus on DVD in the US, but it's long out of print and very hard to find. I much prefer this VHS cover art anyway, so I'm glad to have this tape. Here Comes Santa Claus is an enchanting fantasy film. A dark, enchanting fantasy film. It's about a boy named Simon who is sort of an outcast. He gets picked on by other children and even the school janitor. There is one little girl who befriends him, though. Her name is Elodie. Simon is sort of introverted, mainly because his parents were on an African expedition and taken as political prisoners. Now he lives with his grandmother, and all he wants for Christmas are his parents back. His teacher is very kind, and obviously very understanding of Simon's situation. Also, she's not bad to look at. She randomly breaks out into song throughout the movie, too. After having her students write letters to Santa Claus telling him what they want for Christmas, she takes her class on a field trip to the airport. It's just another of the many random things about this film. The children are allowed to board an airplane for a fake trip to New York. But Simon and Elodie get separated from the group and end up in a Home Alone 2 situation when they board the wrong plane. Soon enough, they end up in Finland, and Simon decides it's a good idea to go looking for Santa. So Simon and Elodie trek the snowy terrain on the way to Santa's village. But it ends up being Santa Claus who finds them, asleep in the snow. He takes them on his sleigh back to his complex. He has a small little house, studio style, where he lives. And apparently there is no Mrs. Claus. He allows Simon and Elodie to sleep in his bed and feeds them breakfast in the morning before giving them a tour of the complex. He brings them to his workshop, where the elves work. And there are also reindeer all around. Once again, something random happens, and Simon and Elodie's teacher appears, but in a different role, as a fairy. She and Santa warn the children not to go into the nearby forest, because it belongs to a cannibalistic ogre, who puts children to work before eating them. Guess who plays the ogre? The mean janitor from earlier. But now he randomly has long hair. Santa soon realizes who Simon is and pulls out his letter. It seems that Santa is only able to give presents, so he will need help from the fairy to retrieve Simon's parents. While Simon and Elodie are asleep, Santa and the fairy head off to Africa. It's worth noting that this movie was filmed on location. So it starts in France, goes to Finland, and then is even filmed in Africa. It's a part of Africa that looks like Tatooine. So Santa and the fairy are in Africa, and Santa does a random thing. He goes swimming with a crocodile. And the fairy does a random thing, and translates a conversation between monkeys. Meanwhile, back at Santa's complex, the children wake up and decide to randomly walk into the forest, where they were told never to go. This film is filled with negligent adults. Of course, the ogre captures them and puts them to work cleaning his house, telling them he will eat them once they are done. So, being smart enough, Simon decides they will never finish cleaning his house, and tells Elodie to keep making a mess. The longer they clean, the longer they stay alive. At this point, the ogre threatens them by putting a puppy between 2 slices of bread and eating it. We don't actually see him eating the dog, but he puts it to his mouth and then the scene cuts away, and the dog is never seen again. Back in Africa, Santa and the fairy are also taken as political prisoners by the African rebels. They are put in this African village's equivalent of a prison cell with Simon's parents. So now Simon and Elodie are prisoners of the ogre, while Simon's parents, Santa Claus, and the fairy are prisoners in Africa. Oh my god, it sounds even more random describing it. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to spoil how it ends. Listen, I know it sounds extremely random, and it is. I've used that word a lot in this video. But man, this will probably be a new annual watch for me during the holiday season. There was just something so charming about this movie. Did you ever watch something and you know you shouldn't like it, but for some reason you love it? Well, this is one of those films for me. It's sort of oddly comforting. It's enchanting, it's dark, there's just something about it. I really like the song that plays throughout the film. It's very catchy and very relaxing. The movie overall has a great Christmas feel, which is important, obviously, in a film like this. It feels magical. Again, in a very dark way. Obviously, as I stated earlier, it's not a horror film, but it's definitely a movie horror fans would enjoy, like myself. The whole movie has a very surreal, dreamlike, almost nightmarish quality, which I know a lot of us appreciate. Here Comes Santa Claus is a movie I decided to review during the 12 Days of Christmas because you never hear about this one. No one ever talks about it. No one ever reviews it, so I thought I would take this opportunity to do so. Have any of you guys seen Here Comes Santa Claus? If so, what do you think of it? Comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. Be sure to check back tomorrow to see what I watch and review for day 6. Also, remember to check out everyone else participating in the 12 Days of Christmas. Thanks for watching, guys. Be kind. Subscribe.